Welcome to Books That Matter, People Who Matter, the program dedicated to promoting reading among all segments of the viewing audience. We thank the Most High for blessing us with the opportunity to be with you and you to be with us. Today's program is dedicated to a new children's book, a very well written children's book, and our guest in studio is Yusuf Salam of Harlem, USA. Thank you for joining us
Thank
on
you for inviting me, Brother
Books
Leroy.
That Matter,
Yes,
People
sir.
Who
Yes,
Matter.
sir. Alhamdulillah.
And your book is about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Elijah Muhammad, builder of a nation. And I call Mr. Muhammad the most invisible black man whose yet visible work is felt by each and every person in the United States. Anytime they say Black Lives Matter, anytime they say Black Entertainment Network, the black is coming straight out of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So speaks Brother Leroy, based on my experience. Why this book at this time?
Well, it's exactly what you're saying, that Mr. Muhammad seems to, the image of him seems to be vague or not put out there. You see all his students out there, all the people who he influenced, like Minister Malcolm X. You'll see Imam Wadi Muhammad. You'll see Muhammad Ali. And for some reason, you never see anyone talking about him. And being a former follower of Mr. Muhammad, I've been relatively dedicated to write about him.
Excellent.
Because of the influence he had on my life as a juvenile at 21 years old. A juvenile, he's 21 years old. The juvenile head, at least, the mindset.
As a boy.
There you go. And acting like a boy. Running the streets and drinking the whole nine.
In New York City.
Long Island, New York.
Long Island.
Central Heights of Long Island, New York.
Okay, so in your lifetime, you have been a dedicated teacher.
English teacher, you mean, an educator?
Teaching and education.
Oh yes. I, in fact, it was due to Mr. Muhammad's influence that I went to college. Gave me the confidence that I could do it. I was a knucklehead in high school, but when I got to the Nation of Islam, I began to get back in touch with the brilliance that I had. My sister was doing it, my brother was doing it, but I was a knucklehead. And so I just got back in touch with that through Mr. Muhammad's teachings, do for self and the history of who we are as a people. And I worked in the day and went to school at night.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, why is this important? This book has importance from your standpoint to young families, young children, young
because
families.
It's this generation who most definitely won't know him or don't know him. This new generation, these three third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, sixth graders, seventh graders, won't. He'll be obliterated from their memory. This generation coming, so we need to put these kind of books out there for people, so they'll be able to know about him.
You're saying his image, his memory would be obliterated if those who know him don't do anything about that.
That's right, and don't be ashamed of him. Don't back down. Or people come at you about religion and things like that. What I'm interested in, what did he contribute? What did he contribute? What he contributed, was that valid? Is it still valid today? As you said earlier, it's still valid today.
Okay, now, how do you see this book? Okay, it can make an imprint, but you've written in a certain style, and J.E. Franklin, who has notes on the back. Elijah Muhammad, Builder of a Nation, is a beautiful children's book with a flesh and blood hero. That's Elijah Muhammad. Parents have been waiting for it, teachers too. Told in a style that evokes the rhythms of hip-hop. This is the story of Elijah Muhammad, a brave defender of human dignity, and it's a smooth read. It will engage the attention of readers, even reluctant readers, and they will want to read it or have it read to them repeatedly. And when one reads this book, and we have read the book, there is a lot of effort. This is not no overnight. It could be. You know, people say they're inspired, they do something.
No.
But you had to put this bad boy together.
Yes.
And make it rhyme and tell a story within the rhyme.
Yes.
And, quote, make it easy for even a reluctant reader to read it to their children.
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, the book is actually the narrative is a bio poem, what you would call written in quatrain, meaning 4 lines each verse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bless Brother George Tate.
So he
was my advisor.
Go ahead, talk to us about the great George Tate.
Yeah, he was my.
Because when you see any
sir.
great man, they say when you see a great man, there's a woman behind him. But when you see a great man, there's a whole team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And to give credit
sir.
to these people who helped you over here to enable you to do something over here.
And it's in the book. His name is my advisor.
I see.
Yes,
it's kind of rare.
Yes,
and we're going to ask you about that. But talk about the quad what?
It's a quatrain.
Quadrant.
It comes from the word for, qua.
Yes.
And so it's written in 4 lines. And Tate suggested I should write it that way. He taught me all these terms because Tate is a poet. I don't describe.
Master poet.
Yeah, master poet. And I'm not a poet. I try to write lyrically in my narratives and things like that, but I never describe myself as a poet. So
lyrically means what?
When I write, anytime I write lyrically, poetically. I try to write poetic. Even in journalism, I try to write poetically.
Okay.
Lyrically, I like to say. But I never describe myself as a poet.
Okay.
So I called Tate. He would give me advice and things like that, and
what did he say about the 4 lines?
He just said he thought it was a better approach. I would get more information in 4 lines, and don't overdo it with children. You know, so he said that would be the better way. And
so as you began to do it,
he would email me. I would send it to him.
Mm-hmm.
He would look at it, and he would give me little pointers here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that.
I mean, it's a great read, brother.
It's
a great.
Thank the Lord.
Not saying it because you're here.
Yes,
if
sir.
you weren't here, I would tell people it's a great
sir.
read.
Yes, sir.
And as I was reading it, I envisioned reading it to a child, grandchild, and the rhythm, the rhyme setup engages the reader, and I'm sure it engages the children. What did you envision when you did this book?
Well, I envision people reading to the children, and then children listening, and then asking questions. What did that mean, Ma? That kind of thing. What is this? And what is that? And the mother or the father could engage the child in what this meant and what that meant. Mm-hmm. Things like that. And the children who were old enough to read it, they could read it, and then the parent or the teacher could ask them, what did that mean when you read that? What did you feel when you read that? Did you know what that meant? Like that. For example, there's a term called, instead of saying the Great Depression, I say the great no job period, or something like that.
Right.
You can't use Great Depression with children. Mm-hmm. So the child may stop there. So what do you mean in the great no job period? Or something like that. And then the mother says, well, they had no jobs, nobody had jobs, they was hungry and things like that. So I want to be inquisitive. Mm-hmm. And I also want them to, as they read the book, I want them to see the kind of person Mr. Muhammad was. Person had against all odds, he was able to build this particular nation of Islam, unprecedented in American history.
It's not in the book as to when he started out, in terms of the trial that he had to go through when he started out. That was, people was after his life.
I didn't go through that. No, you're right.
No, but I'm just dealing with that
yes, sir.
He had to be a strong believer in what he had been taught by Master Prophet Muhammad.
Exactly.
To go through that, go from city to city because he was on the run.
That's right. I mentioned that about him in going to jail.
Yes. That's in when they said they wanted to draft him.
The military. Yes.
Okay, that was the second trial, because in both situations, his wife Sister Clara Muhammad had to carry the nation in terms of keeping the faith among the believers.
Right. And that was, to me, that really was a highlight, and I got a lot of insight personally, because we're talking about women now, the role of women, and then she was leading the whole nation before Me Too and all these other feminist groups. So I thought that would be powerful for a young lady, 5, 6 years old, to see this woman carrying this nation, being the queen of the nation. Well,
where did your information come from on her?
Basically, reading about it, and back in the day, listening to the ministers talk about it, what she did, and I remember Emmy-WINNING gave a lecture about that. So it's really legendary. It's out in the open. It's it's legendary.
Well, I tell you, I didn't have a value for Sister Clara Muhammad, and when I say a value, she was the wife.
Yes, sir.
But okay, she was a wife.
I understand.
But the significance of and that story really hasn't been told.
It hasn't.
About those 5 years that he was in prison and what you pick up pieces, but not the story
that's right.
of how powerful this woman was.
That's another story need to be told.
Okay, well,
no doubt.
Now, getting into the book, you've explained the rhythm and the rhyme setup, the fact that he was taught by Master Fard Muhammad, and he's left to do this job, and he teaches. He's the chief of all the teachers. He goes to jail, and the audience should be informed as to the injustice of his going to jail. And at the time that he was arrested for draft dodging, he was too old for the draft.
That's right, yes, sir.
Talk about that.
Well, that's it. Basically, as you say, there was just a way to get him off the street.
Because?
I think because of the war that was going on, they didn't need any type of, people talking like that, and there was even some, I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, that he was even talking of being connection with the Japanese. Well,
they made that connection because he talked in terms of the original people of the planet Earth.
Okay.
And how why should you be fighting in a war that's being conducted by people who want to take over other countries, coming out of Europe in particular.
Exactly.
And the injustice that was going on here. So when we read this book as Muslims, let's say, for example, it is a pathway to doing more research on this man. Now, there are people who have hang-ups about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I'm talking about from the religious standpoint. Well, he taught wrong Islam or something like that.
Yes.
However, there's a brother who was a knucklehead in Long Island who didn't know nothing about, he didn't know nothing about no Quran. He didn't know nothing about scriptures in the book.
No.
It came, it's in the Quran where it says before it says, look, you didn't know anything before I came.
Yes.
I presented you with this knowledge, and now you're vying in terms of who got the best.
Fighting amongst each other, yes.
So talk about, do you see that group embracing this important part of this history?
I see. Yes. When I say that group,
that group of thinkers.
I am seeing. They just had a conference out in California on Mr. Muhammad. Total conference at Zayatun University, I would call it. It's the first and only Muslim college, I think, in America. The two heads is a European American Sunni Muslim and an African American Sunni Muslim, and they sponsor this whole concept of this whole thing about Mr. Muhammad in terms of what I'm talking about in this book, his contributions to America. And not so much the religious piece they didn't deal with, but they're now beginning to see, what is his contribution? To do for self, manhood and womanhood, clean up, wake up, stand up, be yourself. You're the original people. All these are truths. The truths that
Undeniable.
Undeniable truths. I mean, eat to live. You know, all the nutritionists are saying eat to live.
They're
1
saying
meal a
it
day.
now. They're
yeah,
saying
you know,
what we heard in the
Yeah.
60s.
Yes, sir.
They're now promoting as though they came up with
Yes.
the concept today. Now
Yes.
that's out
Yes.
truth.
Yes. That the African human being is the original human being. And
So this conference, Brother Leroy didn't know anything.
yeah, I wanted to go out there bad, but then I said, no, I never been that far out, you know, and then I wanted to sell the book. I didn't have enough books to make it worthwhile, you know. But I was dead for a couple of days on going out there and see what this was all about.
Did Imam Talib go out?
No, he didn't go out. No.
Wow. Well,
I want to get back. I hope I can go online and find out what was the results of that conference.
Okay, all right.
And even other people, Black nationalist community, Dr. Malana Karenga is now putting Mr. Muhammad in perspective. You know, he not talking about the Malcolm and the Elijah Muhammad episode anymore. So many of the scholars now begin to see the worthwhile of this man's teaching.
Let's talk about the children. In the background, folks can see images of 3 young ladies who are products of the University of Islam in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
This book is well, there may be one other book out on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad done by a major publisher. It's a small book. I just couldn't put my hands on it.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is, well, I guess there are other books that Muslims have put out that we just don't know about.
Right.
But this one here is a book that I spoke with a teacher at the Learning Tree in the Bronx, Sister Farja Muhammad.
You heard about her.
And she said, well, look, I told her the title of the book. She said, well, look, I'm anxious to read the book and acquire the book and let them know.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So I'm letting you know and the audience know that an educator, even without seeing it, Elijah Muhammad, builder of a nation, is in itself a provocative title. It is an invitation to a current hero, as Sister J.E. Franklin has laid out.
Yes.
I'm going back to who your primary market would be for this.
I would say first graders up to maybe the 3rd or 4th grade.
And how do you see this book bumping up against the fact that children are on this and not into books?
Well, that's a good question, Brother Leroy. I'm not going to try to compete. I'm going to just put the book out there. I'm going to sell
Great
it.
answer.
You know what I mean?
Great answer.
You know, I'm not going to go out there and try to fight that. You know.
Great answer. If people are wise, they will read a book.
Yes.
And stop coming out of the subway, going up the stairs and pulling this out and slowing everybody else from getting home.
That's right, brother. That's right.
So talk about the great illustrator, Diane Davis.
Oh, Diane Davis. I was able to meet Diane Davis. I was looking for an illustrator, and I found her card in the County Government Library, a couple of blocks from my house. And I called her, and at that time she was the artist in residence at a artist program. She had a studio on 125th Street going far west.
Yes.
And we met, and she showed me her work right there in her studio, and I liked what she was doing, and we just collaborated. Didn't ever have any kind of beef. You know, she did the work. I paid her.
She knocked the work out.
Oh yeah. Oh, wonderful, Rob.
She knocked it out.
Yeah.
And here was her card.
Yeah.
You know, man, here was her card in the library. I'm going back to you, and you're coming into a knowledge of yourself.
Yes.
What was it about the teachings that began a pathway for you to turn around?
Well, I was like I say, I was a lost. You say the lost found. And I was out there doing nothing with my life. You know, that's what it was. And I don't know, you remember a brother named Brother Thomas, light-skinned brother Tom, the bifocals, working at the post office, was a painter.
Didn't know.
That's going way back.
I know. I probably know. But
Yeah, but he lived out there with his wife. His wife, in fact, one of his daughters married Naeem Akbar later on. And he bought me from Long Island. And at first I was in Corona with Brother Larry at that time, Larry 4X. And then I moved to the city. And I stopped drinking just like that. Stopped smoking the marijuana just like that. Cut all the dudes loose that I was hanging with, and just started a whole new life, And then, like I said, after I peeled all that filth off and all that dirt off, I began to get in touch with who I was in terms of potential intellect. And like I said, I began to go to school. I had a high school diploma, so then I began to go to school, and that's the impact it had on me. I think I would have been dead.
The way you were going.
The way I was going.
What about the friends who you left?
One of them got killed in a bar, and I don't know the rest. Some of them went to jail for a long time, and 15 years like that.
But you were right in that mix.
Yeah.
And you were pulled out.
I was rescued.
When you talk about the achievements of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, name some.
Well, I think the first fact that he can rescue a human being from himself or herself.
The reclamation of the human being.
Yeah, the human life. When you can rescue the human being from the destruction of his own hand, and then deconstruct that human being. They're talking about deconstruction now. The intellects in college like talk about that. And then show that individual how he can make him believe that he can fly, as I say in the book. And get that person to reconstruct himself, and to if not to separate from America, at least you could separate your mind
from the value system.
From the values of America. You see, that's the thing. You don't have to be a drinker. You don't have to be a Negro. You don't have to do what is popular and things like that. Separate yourself from the value of what's going on in the society.
One of the values that families are buying into is the charter school uniform. The uniform where the girls are they're actually wearing short skirts.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And they are reflective of a different lifestyle.
Yes.
And parents are buying into this without any question. Your daughter can't be going out with a short.
Yeah, I think it's a product of a decadent mind, brother. That you just say it out, right? What it is, for to have a young lady who's in her adolescence and her body's out like that. Somebody who's doing that got a decadent mind, brother.
Talk about reading. What does it do? You taught English, you taught math.
Yes. And
talk about what the two of those do for the mind.
I think
we only have 2 more minutes.
What I think reading is like a good plate of food. When you read a good book, to me now, it's like I'm reading a good meal, good nutritionist meal. And that's why you have to choose what you read too, because you can eat trashy food, junk food, and you can also read junk books. So I think that a good book is nutritionist. It's good for the spirit. It's good for the spirit and the mind. It's also good for the body.
That's interesting.
For those are connected.
Because food today, when we buy processed food, it has
Yes.
a lot of elements in it that are beyond the body's ability to handle. It goes in.
Yes.
But this book, like a good meal, is an excellent meal for a child. Here's how I see this book. As I was reading it, I saw, having children and grandchildren, I saw it, the rhythm of it. I saw, after reading this book and how it rhymes throughout, that I could actually engage my grandchild to write a book with rhymes. And I could call on their imagination to guess what comes next in terms of a word that rhymes with what preceded it. So coming out of it, and I'm always encouraging parents to have their children, whatever age, to write a book. and it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of pages,
Mm-hmm.
but write a story. Start with writing a story. This is an excellent one for the members of the Nation of Islam to embrace,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one that people who are interested in Black history to embrace, and those individuals who want to get a further look into Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, and all. They got their names from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan.
Yes, he's there too.
All of these individuals are mentioned in this book favorably, and it's a well done job.
Thanks a lot. Thank a lot, brother. Thank a lot.
Your message to parents as we end.
I could do is say, read to your children and encourage your children to read and have a little library there in the house so they can read. Even have to read it in the little phone that Brother Leroy was talking about. I've just gotten used to that now. Reading in the phone. It took a while. But as long as I'm reading, I'm all right. You know?
As long as it's not a Game Boy game.
Yeah, as long as you're reading. You know?
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Well, we endorse reading. We feel that you can quiet your home by reading. Even if your child doesn't want to read, you can go over into a corner and read and start acting. Wow, she did that. Let me read. And engage yourself, and the children will stop. What's that story about, Mommy?
That's
and
right.
Dad is very important.
Yes, sir.
To read to his children.
All right. Can I read a line, brother?
Yes, sir.
I want to read a line. I'm going to see it first, right? I'm going to just read just a little bit.
Yes,
okay?
as we conclude.
Yes, sir. Elijah Muhammad was born Elijah Poole in Georgia, October 7th, 1897. A place that was easy for some, but for Elijah it wasn't heaven. He had to sit up in the balcony of the movies and on the back of the bus. He and other Africans may have lost their lives they had made a fuss. Whites in Sandersville, Georgia, had freedom of speech. That choice for Elijah was out of reach. New school books for whites to study in class, old used book for blacks that broke like glass. Mama Marie and Daddy Poole were farming folk. Up before sun in the morning to evening was dark like smoke. Big piles of cotton high enough to touch the sky. Sometimes they sang a song to make time fly. Well, picking cotton, Lord, got to pick it before it's rotten. Son, you mighty hot. A glass of cold water would hit the spot. Well, we are picking cotton. Lord, hard times won't be forgotten. Work, till it's time to go home. I done bent my back till I ain't got no bone. Elijah was just a boy, but he had work to do. No matter the snow or how hard the wind blew. Everyone in the house had to carry a load. A tadpole must learn to jump before it's a toad. Feed the chickens plenty of corn. Milk the cows in the barn. Go to the garden and chop the weeds. Spring is coming, then you'll plant some seeds. The child didn't have much time for school. It was work for Elijah Poole. Elijah had chickens and mules and cows to feed. He had to quit the 4th grade so he could barely read.
Excellent. Read one more.
One more, yes, sir. And there's a beautiful picture of Elijah working in the cotton fields and so on.
Working in the cotton field.
Yes, sir. Life for Elijah was not all work and no fun. He played a lot after his chores were done. He swam in the lake and rolled in the dirt, messed up his brand new shirt. Fun. He climbed the trees and smiled at the sun, whistled with robins and silver bob white. The boy and the birds sang with all their might. And there's another beautiful picture of that Diane drew of Elijah up in the tree and hanging out with the children and so on. Beautiful. That's a beautiful shot there.
I want you to, I tell you one that caught me very, very clever is when he went to the ice cream store.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And he went there for vanilla and strawberry. And
Yes,
the little girl insulted him.
yes, she did.
And the way you changed it from strawberry to blackberry.
Okay.
But I didn't see that, huh? I see that.
I probably didn't see it myself. You may be
didn't
showing
see
me
that
some.
one?
Because writers do things unconsciously,
Hey,
you know.
that bad boy is right. I said, oh, my man changed. He changed the ice cream to blackberry.
Yeah.
And from that moment on,
But you know, I borrowed something. I think it's from County Cullen, where he was talking about he went somewhere, and somebody poked out the tongue and called them nigger.
Yeah.
It's a poem and he says something from October to December. That's all I remember. See, it shows you how writers influence writers. I just took that piece, but I made it mine. You see, and I'm going to do another piece out of a Temptation song. It shows you how what you're hearing and it influences you. And I say something like, Elijah told Clara, "You are my sunshine." I just say sunny day.
Right.
I say you're my sunshine on a stormy day.
Right.
These things just come at you. You don't know they're coming at you in your writing. You don't say, "Man, where'd that come from?" I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna make it mine. Oh, the Temptation, man, what that doing in my head? Oh, you don't remember that song back in the day. I said, but I'm gonna use this here, but I'm gonna make it mine. I ain't gonna say sunny day. I'm gonna say a stormy day. And then things like little pieces like that. You know, that comes to it. Now that Blackberry, I gotta go back and look at that because you do things unconsciously. You know what you're doing. You know.
Right on in there. I said, "Oh, my man, changed that bad boy."
Yeah,
that was really something. The fact of positive music. That's what you're talking about when you talk about Temptations.
Yes, sir.
Positive music that strikes a chord with the positivity in the human being, and that enables it to last.
Wow,
forever.
Yes, sir. Classical. Huh?
And you're writing, and there is something that happens when you get into that creative zone. It's like a funnel. All of these things out here is coming in.
Yes,
pieces
sir.
that you read over here. Something
Yeah,
that
wow, you're right.
And you begin to search.
Yeah,
you say, wait a minute. You got a major piece here, but you're looking for a small piece of paper that you wrote something on.
Oh, yeah. That's right, too. Yeah, you're right.
Or you're looking in a book that I know it's in here. I know it's somewhere in here. So that's a very reading and writing extremely critical. It's not just a thing to do.
Right. I agree with you. Yeah. It's, it's like you said, you've gotten all this information, you've eaten all it. Go back to the food, and now as you're processing something like this here, it comes out of you wonder where it come from. And like you say, you wrote something some time ago. It reminds you it might be over there, and you trying to look. You go to look for it.
Listen, that strikes a note about the creativity of young children. Even without TV, forget TV. Your child will be in the kitchen with you or somewhere with you. I'm talking about moms now. And the child will say something profound, adult, mature, not bad. I'm talking about and the parent will turn, where'd you get that from? And that speaks to some spirituality, some intelligence that's with children as they are young. And if we engage them in reading, if we engage them in writing, that's going to come through and be profound. And keep that child writing, keep the drawings going. Buy those things for them, that they can increase their creativity.
Increase their knowledge, increase their growth and development.
Which is the requirement of a parent, deal with the father, to take your children farther than you. And the mother carry out her natural duties of taking care of her child, nurturing that which was in her. Minister Farrakhan calls the womb the workshop of God. Now there may have been other men to call or women to call that the workshop of God before him, but that's the one I heard it from. He calls it the workshop of God, where God is working on this being who has a purpose. All of us have a purpose.
Yes.
Well, I thank you, Brother Yusuf, for being so straight up, sharing a part of your life.
Yes, sir. No
as
problem. Glad to share
someone out there in Long Island who was saved by the word.
Oh, yeah, brother.
And the value that you bring to your family,
hundreds of thousands,
your students.
And let me say this, brother, and this is just coming to me lately in my life, that it's not just guys like me and the proletariat type of guy on the streets. I mean, Dr. Naim Akbar wasn't a proletariat. He's a college-educated cat, but he was a deaf, dumb, and blind Negro. He didn't know who he was. He was just out there getting that Eurocentric education, ready to go on straight out there in space somewhere. So this was an educated man, right? But he heard Mr. Muhammad's teaching, and look where he's at today. He's teaching, and again, doing the same thing Mr. Muhammad did, helping people to save themselves. So a lot of people think people just come out of the ghetto like I did, come off the corner, come off the jail, come out of drugs. No, exactly. Man. People high up, he was able to
way up.
Yeah, way up, man.
Dr. Abdul Aleem Shabazz, who produced the PhDs in math.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right.
Dr. Wesley Muhammad, who's doing research on the vaccines and the marijuana, how it's been weaponized against black males.
Yeah. What about the other doctor? Some time ago, when Mr. Farrakhan was bringing the nation, I don't know where he's at today, but he's working
the medical doctor
in
Washington, D.C., Dr. Aleem.
Yeah, so
Dr. Aleem.
So you don't have to be, coming out the out with your hand.
You're absolutely
correct.
No,
you rescue people out of there who's out of their minds, and which describes all of us.
In New York, there's Dr. Vernon. There's Dr. Vernon. There's sisters. These are people. Your point is that the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has made an impact on the learned and the unlearned.
That's my point.
But the unlearned, once they get the message, they begin to get a thirst for knowledge. And then they come up in their scholarship. They come up in their writings. You have written a book. You were written off by a portion of society. But came out of it to be productive, not only in terms of this book, but in terms of the students that you've taught. English and math.
Mine was strictly English and writing.
Was there a program in the state office building that had science or math that you were involved in?
Yeah, but I was teaching the English component.
You were the English component of that. Okay, all right. So I do this research, you understand? I say, hey, my man is he's a science and
we didn't even get into doing for self businesses and things like that.
Exactly.
As you see how Harlem is being wrecked, you ought to see any African-American businesses, and that Mr. Muhammad was on top of that. Do something for self, build for self.
And that's in that book. How the energy and the drive to have businesses was very paramount among the Nation of Islam believers.
That's right.
It was a must.
That's right. Yes. And he set the example for that,
So, Brother Yusuf?
Yes, sir.
Yusuf Salam of Harlem, USA.
Thank you, Lord.
May Allah continue to bless you and your family.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your work. Thank you for this book, which you've autographed to Brother Leroy. And we look for more from you and others. Diane Davis, this is going to get her some.
Oh yeah. She's a very brilliant young artist, and she's coming up. She just had a showing somewhere in Brooklyn recently. She's on the money.
And thank you for watching Books That Matter, People Who Matter, the program dedicated to promoting reading. Start with this children's book, Elijah Muhammad, the Builder of a Nation. Thank you, my brother.
All right, thank you, brother. Well, that's yours. I'll keep pulling it to me. You going? How you getting home?
No, I have work to do.
We got more work to do, boy.
Yeah,
you gonna be getting that until.
Brother Elijah.
I know that name. I know him. He works with you here sometime.
Well, he's doing some editing.
Okay, yeah, I know him. I think I've seen him with you somewhere before. You had
Wait a minute, your mic is still on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You had
Open your jacket. Go ahead.
You had your own bass on.
Yeah, Sim K. Yeah. Sim K. Yeah, let me have them turn the machine on.
Can I get
Eventually, yeah. Okay. Well, we right uptown, so.
I thought you were
2 weeks ago. No, within a week.